Thank you.
Wilson Smith, ladies and gentlemen. So now we can
So
say.
now I gotta follow Scoop J.
So now we can
This is gonna be
say,
hard.
as Scoop has just anointed, we can just now, since you're the first person since this came up, we can say, welcome to Wakanda.
I'm loving it. I'm feeling it, man. I love
man.
Wakanda, man. That's happening. This is Wakanda. That's the best description you could have for it.
That was awesome.
That's
that
the
was
description.
awesome. I love that
You nailed
segue into you being here for the simple fact that you represent so much in terms of doors being open and longevity and legacy, and also some of the best product ever created for those of us who love sneakers.
You're way too cool. Way too cool. That's very nice. No, you got to have fun. So I feel honored. I feel like, it's been a great journey. It's been a lot of fun working on sneakers, trying to get it right. And I don't think of it as as I'm blazing any kind of trail. It just, I think trail happens. All of a sudden you look around, you say, wow, some stuff has happened. I'm really honored. I'm more honored because the people that I see around me are the amazing people. I'm serious. I mean, the people in this room, the people at Wakanda, the people at the
people at Wakanda,
the people at Wakanda. They're all, that's what's amazing to me, actually. And I want to be all about, hopefully, about them, about that. Anyway, I'm inspired.
You have always represented a very fun approach. That kind of, it also is, once people get to know you, you can kind of see the fun in your work.
Oh, wow, that makes you feel great. Thank you, man. Thank you.
So before, we had the privilege of knowing you, D, before me,
Yeah.
you've made some of the iconic and revolutionary work that we've loved without the perspective of knowing you.
Right.
And then getting to know you and finding out some of the stuff that inspires you and seeing who you are and seeing how that stuff transcended. One of the shoes I want to talk about in that fun.
Oh, man, that's too good.
Is Scottie Pippen's shoe, of course.
Oh, man.
Air More Uptempo.
Yep.
Talk about the inspiration behind that shoe and how that came to be.
All right, no, that's too much fun. So you're talking about the one with 3 big letters on the side of the
Absolutely.
shoe. So it's it is fun because it's like, why not? Okay, the funny thing from the very beginning, my family, when it comes to that shoe, my family says, well, whenever I do Christmas, I always write everybody's names gigantic all over the Christmas packages. Always like their names cover the whole package. When that shoe came out, they said, well, that's just like Christmas. That's what you've been doing for Christmas forever. Just write people's names as big as you can on the side of the shoe of the Christmas package.
Right.
But so one of the marketing guy, David Bond, came to me and was like, hey, you got to write air as big as you can inside the shoe. He just kind of did something, and I thought, oh, okay. And so he said that to me, and he actually even kind of took a picture I was working on, flipped it, wrote the letters gigantic. And I was like, oh. And so I was like, okay, so I took that, and I knew at the time the amount of air that you could expose or whatever. It wasn't like, maybe like Vapor Max or whatever. I'm not to get too detailed, but basically I knew how much you could basically do. Right. And so I just, and started sketching. And then I realized, for me, you could finally flip it and get the letters to work both directions. That was the key moment. And that was probably 30 minutes into sketching. So it was like, and the funny thing is the first shoe I worked on when I came to Nike was a shoe called the Outbreak. So that was a while ago. Nobody remembers the Outbreak, but the Outbreak was like
Google it.
Yeah, okay. The Outbreak was a like canvas sneaker, that people just were kicking. And so I would always put all these graphics on it. And the thing that I loved was I would always blow up the logo really big, and the graphics looked great on the right foot because the word Nike looked right going like that. But then on the left foot, it just didn't. Back then, it didn't look right. Today, you could probably get away with it, but back then, it just wasn't right. And I was like, and so so on the Outbreak, I was like, I put it on the outside of the right foot. I put it on the inside of the left foot. because then you're like skateboard or whatever. So that was the take.
Right.
Well, when so when I was working on the Air shoe, I was like, the very first thing I did was flip the letters because I was wondering, can it work? And it immediately flipped, in 20 minutes in, and so it was one of those things like I thought, well, gee, this is it. And I just because that's as big as you could write it, so I just kind of, drew it up a little bit more that day, and I said, I got to go talk to Tinker. So, so the next day I was like, so what do you think? I showed it to Tinker, and he goes, oh boy, he says, well, it's a crazy design. He says, number 2, you sell millions. So
that sounds like Tinker.
Yeah. At first he was like, oh boy, what are you doing? So anyway, just having fun with it. So, and I actually think it's kind of cool that it's kind of come back because I think it almost speaks more to today than then. Because now we love to say not only what we're wearing but say something about what we're wearing with what we're wearing.
Right.
And so that's
kind of overemphasize the point without overemphasizing the point.
Exactly.
Let the product yell. You don't yell.
Yeah, exactly. Just
what was it like to see, Pippen wearing that sneaker on the court for the first time?
That was over the top. I mean, seeing the posters, seeing Scotty. I mean, I definitely
because the marketing was brilliant when it hit like Sports Illustrated and just elsewhere.
So
it was so good. But seeing him on the court, I remember like literally having that one what are those?
It honestly really worked with him and his personality. I mean, I think just the thing about it was his game. He's larger than life. He's like. What do I say? He's like even anyone like a guard, a forward playing like a guard back then.
So in a similar vein of like a Magic Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was just bigger, and then and just what's going on today, even from LeBron or whoever, just a bigger player playing like a smaller player. Yeah. And so in a sense, those letters that was kind of like you're trying to house his foot or whatever. So it's just, and it just kind of worked. For some reason, I'd go, that kind of works because he's kind of he's busting out of the court. He's just coming in with the slams and everything. So So anyway, it just, it seemed to really work. So anyway, I had fun with it.
Yeah, you have a lot of fun with your work. I mean, you honestly do. We see it. But one of those I want to talk about is when you were tasked with redoing a controversial shoe, actually, in history, when you were tasked to redo the Trunner for the Jordan.
Oh, man, you pulling one out right there, but okay, the Trunner.
So just to put context to it, the original Jordan Trunner, which had the adjustable metal ankle plate, was harming people, number one, when they would go to adjust it and the plastic would bust out and it would slice people's fingers open. And number two, prison inmates realized that was a great shoe to take to prison because it already had a shank in it.
Yep.
So Wilson was given the task of, after the shoes were recalled and all of this came to be, having to find a solution.
Yep. Problem solve it.
There you go.
So that was one of my favorite problem-solving designs for you. What was that like?
Wow.
Knowing what the problems were.
Well, the fun thing. Let me take a half a step back. The fun thing about what we do about the sneaker world is that you're not dealing. I mean, I studied architecture, so I'm not trying to do something that's going to be around for a long time or something that can take a long time to kind of figure out. It's more like, hey, you got to react. You're in the culture. You're right in the middle of the moment, and it's time to create something that's going to be a response. And so I think in any case, it's always has to do with almost like drawing with someone looking over your shoulder, or you just got to be on it, and you just got to be quick, and the quicker it's probably the better. Like the one I talked about before, the Uptempo, those were done. That was done so fast, and that's one reason why it worked, is that it was basically just drawn, and then it was done, and then boom, and then it just you just kind of keep working on it. You keep working to refine it, but it's really done immediately. And so in this case, you still got to come up with the right response, and you just got to do it right. And honestly, the first time I did it, I think I was trying to keep the heel clip in.
You were?
So that was
Wow.
because I just thought it was right. Honestly, I was inspired by I think that a lot of what Tinker does, I feel very close to. I felt he's always been a dear friend. I liked that clip a lot, what it actually did, and that's the thing about it. When you do stuff, you're kind of, it's almost like glass half full. You're trying to do something that's gonna be the best for the athlete. You're not thinking about all the other ways that
stuff.
can be used.
As you should.
So yeah, so I'm not even thinking about the other stuff. So for me, I'm like, yeah, let's do it, and they actually, so I had to be kind of, I think, talked out of that or worked out of that, but that was really what.
So you were a fan of that?
Oh
actual
yeah,
feature
yeah.
on the shoe.
I loved it. I think it made sense. I mean, it's still, I still think there's something about holding the heel in when you kind of need it, especially when you're doing training and you kind of want to want some support. So anyway, I thought it made sense. And then you try to figure out, okay, what other ways can you do it? Because what you're trying to do, not to get too, what you're trying to do, you're trying to deal with the forces that are needed, the support forces or whatever you're trying to do. You're trying to do that. It doesn't have to be done the exact same way.
Okay.
And that's the thing, is that a lot of times we look at stuff and we go, oh, I gotta just, the Air Jordan or whatever has this or it has that, and as opposed to trying to say, okay, we gotta like duplicate that exact thing. It's better to come up with whatever. Basically, you just want to do something new. I mean,
Right, but solve that problem at the same
solve
time.
the problem, and then a lot of times when you do that, you think it out of the box, and then you solve it almost in a better way.
Yeah.
You solve it, So it's just design is like that. I think almost the more challenges you have, almost the better, because then you just gotta pay more attention. You gotta think a little deeper, kind of take it to a double click,
Right.
go a little deeper. So
Right.
So
So let's talk about this. It may be something that a lot of people who are Air Jordan fans may not know when you think about the lineage and timeline of it, but you were the first person to work on the Air Jordan line when Tinker stopped.
there you go. Yeah. Well, okay. It's too much fun. Well, let me give.
The first black person.
And to give a shout out to the second one who just walked in the room. See, honestly, I got to give a shout out to my brother. He's the voice. He's the voice we've needed. I'm a designer, but Dwayne has gone so many levels and so many layers, and I love this man, and I'm blown away by all the things he continues to affect and the people he continues to affect and the things he continues to do. I mean,
T'Challa!
No, yeah, he is. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whatever. I
You
love
not living this one down, bro.
I love the second.
You take the stage later on, I'm gonna be like,
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying hi to him no more. I'm just
The second black man is really the one.
But that experience, but being able to talk about
but
that.
the experience, I'll talk about it. One thing I'd say is, and I'd say Tinker, Dwayne would say this too, because he's friends with Tinker like me, but he's a man who I believe is looking for, he looks for opportunities. He's intentional about even giving place for black people to have an experience. And I think that he saw me, he saw I was a designer, he knew that I was there, and he felt he could hand it off. And the amazing thing, a friend of mine said to me at the time, he said, you're much more influenced, because it was one of those moments where MJ had retired for the second time, Tinker was gone, and so people were like, okay, you're gone now. Who are you? You had a little bit of that vibe inside the berm and everywhere, and I was like going, okay, good question. But then a friend of mine said to me, he said, hey, you're much more influenced by the people who believe in you than even the people you believe in. When you talk about people, and honestly, if you're empowered, all of us have to climb mountains, and we're trying to get to the next level. And I'm excited about the next level of the sneaker world, because all the people